Welcome to Linked Up Loud Lounge. This is the place where ideas get real, creativity gets the maximum point, and we all get crazy. This is not your regular podcast where you have very polished questions and designed answers. This is just friends bantering around their careers. This is like a conversation you would love to have on your rooftop with your friends. I have a very special guest here with me tonight. She's a friend, a lawyer, marketing strategist, and known for pivoting her career from law to marketing to entrepreneurship, and she's just 30. So, welcome, my dear friend, and a very, very cool chick, my go-to person for all the connections here. Welcome, Shivangi Dham, to my podcast.
Thank you so much, Asha, for having me. The first time I'm doing one-on-one with a friend that I know very well. So thank you for having me and Simba. We didn't plan this, but he's not going away, so he wants to be part of this podcast.
Yes, absolutely. Simba, I love his energy around, we both are dog lovers. So Shivangi, before we get into some serious stuff, tell me a Netflix shows that resonates with your career.
See, if it was a movie, I definitely would go for like a Shah Rukh Khan title, would be like Dilwale Brands Le Jayenge or something like that. If it is just a Netflix show about me, I think the title I would like to have is Chota Packet Bada Dhamaka. People might feel my life must be very normal, but it is quite like a roller coaster.
Yeah. That's great. I would love to watch that show actually and maybe cast it as your friend.
100% you'll be in the show.
Okay. Coffee, chai, or cocktails? Which powers your best ideas?
Okay. Listen, I'm Indian. I love chai. I can't live without my chai. And I've never been like obsessed with coffee.
One thing people assume about you that's totally wrong.
Heard a lot of people say that I'm overconfident. I think people have that impression because of the way I talk and maybe the energy I get, but I'm not overconfident. Just that I feel like I'm sometimes overly prepared for situations. I'm also the eldest child in my families. I feel like I've always had that thing, like that thing's right or something like that. So I just come with that energy, which people find intimidating. Or some people think, oh, she's so overconfident about it. I'm not just overconfident, I just believe in myself. And I'm very proud of it.
The over-prepared part is actually so true. I remember coming to games night and I've never seen such a well-prepared games night in my life. And I'm a game lover. And I know there were chalks and whiteboard and extra slips and you were not allowed to make noise. And Simba had a corner place. So I know how well-prepared you always are. Which marketing buzzword would you ban forever?
Okay. And I hear that a lot. And I know it's more like a clickbait and a catchphrase. Growth hack. There is nothing as growth hack. You're not hacking a website or a server or something. I don't get the concept. What is this hack? There's no hack. A marketing profession is a very unconventional profession. And I don't think there is some hack that anyone knows in the world or any great market in the world or brand makers in the world have had some hack.
The bold pivot you took in your career. So law to marketing. And I know there must be stories about it, but I want you to talk about that moment when you realized law wasn't it for me.
So, I should, to be very honest with you, it's not like I decided at any point in my life that I don't like law because I love what I did. There were certain situations. It's just that, when you're in COVID times, you're sitting and then you just ask yourself, do I really want this? Is this what I was meant for? Because all my life I thought I wanted to be a lawyer and I studied for it. I worked for it. But there were times that I'm just maybe I can do something else also. Something I'm passionate about. And that's where I found my calling in social media. And to be honest, one of the biggest credit goes to this person taking a nap right now. I don't know if he's taking a nap. I can't see.
He's pretending to take one.
Okay, so this person is actually the one who changed me. Because when he came into my life, I had to have an Instagram account for my dog. That's how the journey started. And I said, no, he's so cute, he's so handsome, I'm going to have an account for him. So when I started having an account for him, I started just getting these ideas hopping. And I was like, oh wow, I can create content and I can be funny. Let's try to do something. Then I came to Dubai and people always say Dubai is a land of opportunity. So when I was here, I had, by the way, a job in a law firm. And it was that. Or it was an internship with a family friend. Which was about social media marketing. I said, you know what, let me try that. So very organically it happened. It doesn't mean that you were less passionate about it. I was as passionate about law as I am today about whatever I do. I do multiple things and I'm so passionate about all of them. But I was equally passionate about law. But it's just that there was a calling inside me and there was time where I felt okay, I need to move on to a new chapter of my life. I need to let it go. I'll always be a lawyer at heart. Now that is what makes me a standout marketer, I would say.
My next question is linked to that. What is it that you bring from your law experience or knowledge to the marketing industry? What are the few maybe strengths that you carry and that makes you unique?
It's quite funny. I never made a judge get bored. I was a litigation lawyer. So I feel like that's what I took to grab attention is what I learned. So that makes me okay, so my work did get someone's attention. And that is what keeps continue to get me work today. So I think that has worked really well. And that's something I carry from law.
This is very interesting. And I'm glad you use the word attention because that's something very core to marketing. Of course, it's all about getting attention to the market. Exactly. You're actually saying that you have that as a lawyer. So maybe, that was your calling and that was your transition into this entire field where you're really successful. Entrepreneurship, that recently you launched your own company with our couple of common friends, and I know you guys are thriving and you won award. Tell me how it all started, where did the idea come from, and what's the plan?
So whatever I am today, I am because of, I feel like my personality is just to connect with people, to communicate with people. I did meet two friends who saw an entrepreneurial spirit into me. I would just be like, okay, we are planning to open this thing. Would you be a partner with us? Honestly, I thought it's a joke over drinks. We're just bantering. And then they gave me such a confidence boost. They said, why not? You can sign this. And I said, listen, so we have a firm. It's a venture studio called the Ivy Growth Associates. They're already very successful in India, Singapore. They're trying to go global. So that's why my business partner wanted to open a branch of it in UAE. And when we was venturing into that, we were thinking, okay, so he thought of me and I was like, why me? And he's like, no, because I need you. And I said, I don't know anything about finances. Amir, do you think I can do this? And he's like, no, but you are someone who understands business development side of things. You know people, you understand people. You are someone who can make good connections. So this would really help us, and your power to connect to people would actually be useful to us. So I feel like it was very sweet of them to kind of give me that elevation and make me feel like I can dive into something again I've not done before. And the reason I fell into it was because I was like, okay, I already didn't know anything about marketing. I've never studied marketing, by the way. I'm so sorry. I probably shouldn't say this on camera, but now I'm used to it. I say it. It's been actually now surprisingly, I have more experience in marketing than I have in law in my career. So now it's happened like that, and my and again, from marketing, I'm going into something it's should deal with financial services, and I'm just okay, that is a new ball game altogether. But I'm trying to learn because I feel like I'm a good learner. And I think important is for entrepreneurs is you always keep learning. It makes no sense for this partnership to work, but you know what? It's working, and inshallah, hopefully, I think it will continue to work because we all come from such diverse backgrounds and we put all our energy into making something great. So yeah, that is about it. Yeah.
So tell me, what's the most expensive mistake you've made in your career?
I have wasted a lot of time thinking, okay, how do I make myself or my brand shine in order for me to start going and getting business. Making myself look big, then actually, I think instead of that, I could have just been patient about a lot of things. When I stopped running after that perfection, which I did, I feel like a lot of things naturally fell into my lap, which cultivated into such beautiful ventures and projects that I do. So I really like that matrix of my life that has come to, because I'm not a perfectionist. I just have a vision board. I have a to-do task list that I keep making every day, and it has different tasks, and I just keep ticking them off. I'm just doing my work. Stop running after being perfectionist, stop looking good, stop being poised.
Actually, very interesting that you picked that up because as an HR practitioner myself, a lot of people get this feedback also that, you are not acting up to the position you are in. It's not about the work. It's you're not acting the position. You're a CEO, you're a young CEO, behave a certain way. It's good to behave, and it's also good to dress up a certain way. Of course, it should be pleasant, hygienic. But that concept of having that presence where you have to behave a certain age to be a CEO of a company, or you have to have certain this kind of sitting attitude and
exactly. I don't get it. Where are these rules written? where are they written, like who has written them. It doesn't matter what you're wearing, it doesn't matter what color are you wearing, even if you're matching, your shoes are matching, your outfit, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're polite or you're speaking loudly. Some people have a loud noise. It's not like they're loud, they just have that volume, like naturally it's there. It's not about that. You should teach, if you have to train people, teach people to be sensitive to people, to be empathetic to people, and to be understanding and be a team player. These are the things you have to explain to gone are the days now when you think of a CEO, you're just already drawing a picture in your head. There'll be some guy completely black suited with like a this thing, with no hair and like, you know, or salt and pepper look, all of that. Like people can think this way, but this is not how it is.
This is not how it is anymore. And I think that's what's changing. And people like you, the young leaders, and myself. So that's what the industry is going towards. I remember I got this feedback once. I was in a company where they said your energy is too young. I got feedback from my manager that you are too senior and your energy is very young, which is a very correct feedback, but that's made me very relatable to people. I don't have to act as a senior HR.
Honest
Sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like I said, there's no conventional way of doing things. It is just, and like a young person, like if you come and talk to me and if you understand my problems, I think that would mean more to me than like someone telling me, oh, you know, you do this, you'll get it.
Okay, tell me, what are your deal breakers?
When I see people not being able to be flexible, right, that is like a deal breaker, because up in their ways, right, and they don't want to move on from it. I don't think like it would be a good chemistry for me and them to work, because I'm a very dynamic person. I can't like work on like written rules.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's check next question. Simbu, if I give you 10K AD and 90 days, okay, for a startup, what would you ask Shivangi to do for you?
Tell me,
What would be the strategy?
What will be the strategy? No, you can't run away.
You'll probably buy treats.
Yeah, I think he'll buy treats, or he'll buy lots of cars so he can go goomy. So if I had that, okay, because you're giving me very less budget, what I would do is I would actually try to get an equity partner who has an expertise in marketing.
Okay.
So they can like save me the marketing budget. And the rest of the 10K, I'm going to spend by like whatever strategic moves, initiatives I need to do. It depends on what kind of startup it is, but I think I would use that for like my business day-to-day activities and to keep like everyone running. And this is what I would do. If I had 90 days, I would tell people, okay, we're starting up. Let's everyone have an equity. Okay. And once we become successful, you can take a good percentage.
Okay. But Shivangi, I see that community is such a big theme in your journey, and you really leverage that also. So what does it mean to you? What's the advice for people, especially in a place like Dubai?
I do feel like one handshake or one meeting or one conversation has actually opened more doors for me than 100 emails. So I definitely feel like real connections is what matters. And when you meet people, the kind of impression that you can leave, right? You can't compare that. So I think that is one thing I've leveraged out of communities, that when I'm meeting someone, I try to make a genuine connection out of them. And some of them having my great friends. One example is you. Also, it gives you good mental health balance of having like good friends, reliable friends, because we're all expats here. We do need that company.
That's a very good advice, because you know what? I learned it too late in my career. I have been a little bit nerd myself, and I always thought I know my skills so well, but I don't really need maybe other people or maybe seek out help. I learned it a bit later. And especially in a place like Dubai, I've seen that how expat communities closely knit. They really support each other. It's not just words, or it's not just exchanging cards. Like I have people asking me on a weekly basis what's happening, how's it going, which is very heartfelt, because you know, people are not just there for the sake of it. They really check in on you. So you're absolutely right that this is a skill I believe should be taught in school.
100%.
Early days, networking, connecting, making friends.
You have to be in touch with them. You have to make that effort. It's a part of life. It's not something you can take for granted.
So Shivangi, I mean, it's very inspiring to hear your story, your journey. Let's zoom out of this entire life and this career, mashallah, that you've built. We want to know about human behind all of this, and especially support system. Tell me about your support system. Who do you have? Where do you get strength from?
So someone that really helps me with my mental health is not a human. He doesn't know that. It's just good boy. I feel it is. Is this good boy? Good boy, and he wanted credit for my success. That's why he's here.
Yeah, of course. Ignoring your kisses.
I know. He's like that. He thinks he deserves to be loved. Simba is my family. Definitely I feel like having a pet does absolutely your mental health in a very good way. You don't need anybody. You don't need anybody because the love is so unconditional. So definitely that it kind of motivates you. So when you get that comfortable environment, whatever comfort you get at your home, you carry that in your
Yes, absolutely.
when you go out there. So that comfort that I have, that I can be myself, I can stand up for what I feel is right. I can feel dejected the days I can be like, oh, like, I can cry, I can feel sad. But I can still go out there and be. So I think that strength is what they've taught. My support system has taught me a lot of strength. And I do. No one's negative energy should affect my spark.
Absolutely.
I have to keep shining. That's what I learned from my support system. So I think, this is like something like that. Obviously, I think this is the base of every support system. And I feel like your friends, your partners, your relatives, or your well-wishers, they come in an outer circle. They do come in life and they do give you that push and that like high. But I think your core has to be always like the first 30 years of your life, how you spend that with your family and the environment that they have given you, for sure.
That's actually very true, and I can relate to it that the comfort that you get from your siblings and your parents translates into your confidence, and I see that in you. That brings a lot of security also. I know maybe I'm not talking about the financial stability part. I'm talking about being there for you. When your siblings, are being there, even if you make the stupidest mistake, they'll say, hey, why you did this, but still support you. So I think that's the comfort that translates and brings out a personality like yourself, where you're risking with your career, entrepreneurship, marketing, and this and that. So many things because you have that comfort, you have that fallback, people around you.
Yeah,
that's great.
That I will make mistakes, but I feel like with like so much support and from everywhere, like
Yes.
your partner as well and everyone, you do feel like, okay, even if I fall down, I'll be able to get myself up. So that is how it has been. And this change is something that I got. I know it was risky, but it was just like, it was only that part of changing. It took the courage. Every time I've switched gears, so when I want to do this, I want to do this. But when I'm into it, I'm like sinking in parties. But changing gears is always tough. And that's what happens in usually a lot of startups. And I feel young entrepreneurs or people are looking for jobs. They're like, okay, they come to this country like, oh, we came for this purpose, but we're not able to find the correct job.
Yes.
We're not able to get the correct profile that we deserve. Maybe shift gears, change gears. Nothing is permanent in the world. All the jobs, all the positions in the corporate world are replaceable. No one is irreplaceable. If everyone's replaceable, you can be replaced tomorrow. It doesn't matter. But do something, get an experience. It doesn't have to be maybe it's something that you don't like. Okay, move on to the next chapter. But try something. You never know. Because for me also, it was like a try, like something that I'm just doing. And I think this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So I'm very happy, like multiple things, I'm open.
That's amazing. I think that's what they call surrendering to the universe. Yes, wanted to bring it on. Yeah, bring it on,
Surrender yourself, bring it. Nothing is difficult. Everything in this world is easy as long as you believe in yourself. And you're like, be confident, be this thing. Great. So, you might be feeling like, oh wow, I have learned all of this, but of course, I was never like that. Was the most. I was so like, I never had rational thoughts. I was always someone who's doing things instantly. I want to rapidly make decisions without even thinking about it. Like there was no rational, I think I had in myself. But slowly with time, with experience, I've learned like swim. Just keep swimming. Like they keep saying in that Nemo movie. Dory. Because she forgets everything. She's like, oh, I'm able to find my house. And then her mom told her, just keep swimming,
Okay, that's actually really good advice. So I'm a strong advocate of risking in your career. I'm a strong advocate of women. Any message for our, I would say, I'm sure there must have women who have opened door for you in your careers. What door would you like to open for a woman of next generation to make it easy for them in a place like Dubai?
So for sure, like I have become a person who is very open to anyone who tries to reach out to me. And because of that, if someone ever comes to me for even little advice, like even my sister has a lot of friends who are younger and they want to even talk to me, I'm just there. Because I wish someone would have done that. So I didn't have that. And second thing I would like to tell them, girl, you can do whatever a man can do. And you can do it in heels. They can't do that.
That's cute and pretty great. So move to the last segment of my podcast, which is called 3 bold shots. So I'll ask you 3 bold questions, quick but deep. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. A belief about success you have completely unlearned.
Something that I have unlearned about success, or something that people told me, was the 5 years plan. Because I think my biggest and greatest successful ventures and wins have come out of 5 minute gut plans, like gut feelings.
Second one, the biggest risk that you yet have to take in your career.
Really speaking, yeah, maybe in the future I would be like more open to like investing. I'm not do it, but like I really just want to take my own savings and invest it somewhere. So that's a risk I've not taken yet.
Okay. Yeah. And my third and final question is one thing that you would like to say to our audience or people out there living in Dubai that no one says out loud.
It's safe, but it's dangerous. It's a safe country. You get the safe environment, but the competition out there is dangerous. It's deadly. So you gotta give your best.
That's very well said. Shivangi has been loud, bold, and completely refreshing. For everyone listening out there, she gave us her playbook, her story of risks that she's taken, and she's told us about her support system as well. Thank you so much. I'm Aisha, your HR strategist and coach, and I love having unapologetically bold conversations. Thank you.